I'm going to go after the candle blessing and the kiddush and all that stuff. Do we have to? Yeah, we have the music there. This thing, I want to go from the end of the candle blessing kiddush and mostly I want to go to Shabbat Service. Oh, and then we'll do kiddush. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to services. I am delighted to see you all here and to have you enjoying Shabbat with us. You guys doing okay over there? Okay. We have begun a series last week, and I don't want there to be any misunderstandings. Last week, after services were over, we had a drawing for baseball tickets. And I don't want you to think that after every service there's going to be a drawing for something, and certainly because the series is called Baseball, Hot Dogs, Apple Pie, and Chevrolet, we are not giving away a Chevrolet at the, unless it was a little model, Matchbox toy or something like that. We're not going to be giving away a Chevrolet. So if you came under those expectations, I'm sorry, but just go buy your own lottery ticket and be done with it. That's all we can do. Rabbi Fader and Rabbi Alper are enjoying, I hope, a sabbatical, a summer vacation during the month of July. And I get the privilege of being with you at services and being a part of this. I'm Rabbi Shook. In case you've never met me before, I'm the Rabbi Emeritus of the congregation, which is a title that I think in Latin means without merit. So it's one of those things. So in any event, I'm delighted to have you with us. And tonight, like we try to do, we try to get into the Shabbat mood, and we sing a little ditty, Bim Bam. It's 4 words, Bim Bam and Shabbat Shalom. I think we can all handle that, okay? Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam. Bim Bam, Bim 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 Bam, Bim 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 Bam. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Our service is going to begin with a reading on page 6, and then we're going to turn back to page 2 for the blessing of the Shabbat candles. But we'll start with page 6 in our prayer book. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. We turn now to page 2 for the blessing of the Shabbat candles, and it's my honor to invite Ella Raber to come forward and lead us in the blessing of the Shabbat candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness remind us of the generation of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Thank you. Where is my wand?
Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who follows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. We continue with the Kiddush on Shabbat, the blessing over the wine. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. And Ella is going to take a piece off the challah, because every time I take a piece of challah and eat it before I try to speak, I can't speak. I get so verklempt. I get so dry. And Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
We continue now with Shalom Aleichem, and you will find Shalom Aleichem on page 24 as we welcome messengers of God. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Bimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. We continue now on page 29. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There's one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nivarech, let us bless. We stand for the call to worship. On page 28. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Page 31. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. We continue on page 34 and 35 with the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. We continue with the V'ahavta on page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha Hayom alevavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'velechtecha v'aderech, uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot veitecha, u'visharecha. Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kidoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 39, and we read responsively at the bottom. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shore of the sea. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Malachutecha rahu vanecha, bokeh hayam, Lifnei Moshe ve'Miriam ze'elianu ve'ameru Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Continuing on page 42. Grant, O God, that we may lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, for your name's sake be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us, for you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and our coming to life and peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai. Apore sukat shalom aleinu, va'al kol amo Yisrael, va'al Yerushalayim. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from the work and was refreshed. On page 46, we rise for tefillah. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Gula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Continuing on page 52. Atah Kadosh, V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yahalalucha Selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Please be seated. We continue with Shalom Rav on page 60. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol et uv'chol sha'a bishlomecha. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Raham al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. We are at that moment in our service when we offer a prayer of healing, and I will read a list of people who, by family request and specific request, have asked for a prayer of healing, but you also have the opportunity here and now to recite someone's name and include them in this healing prayer. So as we come around the world, as we come around the congregation doing this, you can feel free, please, to add names of your loved ones in need of a healing prayer. So on the list we have on this Shabbat, we mention the following names: Evan Abelwitz, Arlene Alper, Sina and Dave Beal, Glenn Figgis, Harold Garber, Carl Neblock, Jeremy Newton, Drew Patchen, Elliot Schurer, Lisi Weinstein, Ellen Weiss. Now, if you'd like to add your names, please feel free. We turn to page 253 for a healing prayer, page 253, Misha Bera. Shebera avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishebera imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Shalom bimromav, Urya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Urya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom, shalom every once in a while we're reminded of the things that COVID postponed, the things we put off, the things we wanted to do and we needed to do in the presence of loved ones and friends, but we couldn't do it because we didn't want to put them at risk. So you'll understand and indulge me if we celebrate a 20th anniversary on the 23rd anniversary of their marriage, as we invite Rob and Amy Hahn to come forward to receive the blessing of this community and this congregation. 20 years ago, I am told, that a thunderstorm postponed the outdoor wedding they had planned in the garden, and they ended up in the May Chapel. Other than that, everything has been wonderful. And we have their daughters with us to prove that. And they insisted that they would not come on the pulpit with us for this blessing. But the great thing about this is that what we started 23 years ago is now here in all its glory. And the two of you look as good and as young and as vibrant as the day I married you. And one of the privileges of being a rabbi in a congregation this long is you get to see this stuff. You see? You get to see Mom and Pop and the two daughters. This is great. This is outstanding. Our blessing for you on this day is that the love that you share for so many years will continue and grow and blossom, and the radiance of that love will fill all of us with the warmth that the two of you have shared over so many years. God bless you both. May I invite all of you to join in this blessing, the Shehecheyanu prayer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Praised are you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, who has blessed us, kept us alive, and sustained us to reach this day of joy. And we say together, Amen. Mazel tov. About a century ago, in a town south of Detroit called Dearborn, there's a high school. And Henry Ford, who I will speak about in a different context a couple of weeks from now, Henry Ford had this ceremony he liked to conduct with people who were newly hired for the Ford Motor Company. He would have these new hires who came from virtually every planet on the globe gather in the athletic field of the high school. And they would gather in their native costume. So if they were from Poland, they would wear Polish gear. And if they were from Germany, they would wear German stuff. And they would gather, and by the way, I mean, one of the things that Henry Ford was known for was he was progressive to the extent that he paid for his laborers more than anyone else paid at the time. Now, he stopped and froze in that moment in time and never raised them, but they had a good ways to start with. He gathered them in that field, that high school, in their native dress, and in the center of the high school was a huge papier-mâché pot. It looked like a cauldron. And he would march them up a ladder, and they would descend into the pot in their native gear, and then they would come out the other side of this pot wearing suits and ties and dresses like Americans, every one of them. This was the melting pot. Henry Ford believed in the melting pot. That was his thing, that America was going to take all of the differences that made up the immigrant population that was, in his mind, overwhelming America in the day, and was going to melt them all down and turn them into fine, upstanding, at least in his mind, Americans. The last week and this week and next week and the week after, I've been trying to put together a series on American culture. And it started because we had a raffle of baseball tickets. So I figured baseball, hot dog, apple pie, and Chevrolet. I thought that would be a way to put things about. So tonight's theme is hot dogs. And if you haven't caught on, they actually had appetizer franks or whatever they're called, okay? Just in celebration of the idea, but let's go a little bit more in depth. What is the metaphor that truly describes our culture and what we strive for? Is it a melting pot or is it a hot dog? It may seem strange. I'll tell you what's really strange. Doing research on hot dogs, you discover that there's more hostility, animosity, and antagonism over the question of who was the first to do what when it came to hot dogs. There is a claimant here in St. Louis that claims that the first hot dog bun was at the World's Fair in 1904. If you know anything about St. Louis, everything was first at the St. Louis World's Fair in 1904, none of which had anything to do with reality. But I love the idea that there were historians that spent their lives and their time studying hot dogs, and they came up with this. Hot dogs are about 900 years old. The earliest dated descriptions of what hot dogs were goes back to the Roman Empire. Well, further than 900 years. Germans used to eat a sausage and wrap it in a piece of bread. And from there, ultimately, in the 1860s and 70s and 80s, came the bun. And Americans called this thing hot dogs because they sort of shortened the form. We referred to these things as Dachshunds. German immigrants came to America. They brought these little wiener dogs, the dogs that were, short and long kind of thing. And they were called Dachshunds, and naturally the translation was they were hounds or dogs. The scary thing was they were talking about what the content of the hot dog was. But ultimately, in a couple of generations, beginning of all places, Yale University, they started to refer to these things as hot dogs. Now, I don't want to get too deep into the technology of or the artistry of making a hot dog. And we often have an expression, you don't want to watch sausage being made. Well, hot dogs are part of that. You don't want to watch something being made. But basically what happens is you take a food product and you grind it up with spices and herbs and flavors, and then you put it in a casing. And inside the casing, there's all this spice and herbs and flavor and everything else. But when you look at it from the outside, every hot dog looks the same as every other hot dog. We've become pretty adept at taking a food, and if you don't like the taste of the food, you throw stuff on it. First it was mustard, then ketchup, then pickles and relish. Now it's celery salt and celery and green pickle relish for a Chicago dog, and the bun's got to be different and all of that stuff. But what does it represent? It represents that we have taken something that probably was popular in Middle Europe in the 19th century, and each of our communities has adapted it and made it our own. The flavor and spice we bring to it is we bring from our own community. Henry Ford was scared to death of immigrants. It was a world he did not understand, could not comprehend. And the only way he could make sense of what was happening to America in his day was to stop history itself. If you've ever been to Detroit or Dearborn, Michigan, you may have had the chance to visit Greenfield Village. Henry Ford took all of these little businesses and stores and shops and put them in a village outside of Dearborn that was adjacent to the Henry Ford Museum, named after guess who. And I remember as a kid, because every kid in the Detroit public school system was taken to Greenfield Village to experience the museum. And every kid got a chance to walk into and look at Orville and Wilbur Wright's bicycle shop. That was the thing that caught my attention. He lifted it up out of Ohio and brought it to Greenfield Village and set it down there. And he did the same thing with Thomas Edison's workshop, where he invented the light bulb. And you got a chance to look at what these things looked like in the 19th century and the early 20th century. But what was really going on there was Henry Ford was trying to stop history. He was trying to put a halt to change, trying to make it impossible for change to occur. He wanted the world he grew up in, which, by the way, he probably more than any other human being on the planet changed forever with his production of the Model T Ford. He wanted the world to stop still and not change. And he was fighting, thank God, a losing battle. Because each and every community that came to America, including our own, the Jews who came to America in the 1850s and 60s from Germany and Bohemia, and the Jews who came to America between 1880 and 1920 by the millions, they transformed the country. And they brought with them all of the richness of their culture and their lives and their experiences. And along the way, they changed how we understood what the hot dog was. A guy on Coney Island decided it wasn't enough to serve a hot dog. He wanted someone to eat 70 hot dogs in a sitting. So starting at the beginning of the century, Nathan's Famous served hot dogs and had hot dog eating contests. I think he destroyed it for me, that's for sure. One thing I could never do is watch someone in a hot dog eating contest. But it was their way of celebrating America. Ford's efforts to stop history, Ford's efforts to stop culture, to keep it in a place where he was comfortable, was the opposite of what America does. We may not realize this because it's kind of funny. We are all people on the same ladder of immigration. We started at the bottom of the ladder. We got here. We survived. Some of our relatives did not survive that journey, did not survive the history of Europe. We got here, we got on the ladder, and we started to climb up the ladder of America. And every once in a while, we would look over down lower on the ladder, and we would see someone striving to make it up the ladder with us. If we responded to our better nature, we understood that everyone had a right to be on that ladder with us, and everyone needed a helping hand to come up the ladder that we could provide. If we didn't respond to our better nature, sometimes we tried to push people off the ladder. But you see, we didn't have to worry about one thing. Everyone who came and got on the ladder and climbed that ladder to experience, that ladder to opportunity, discovered something very special. The thing that set this country apart, culturally, socially, politically, was we gave everyone on that ladder, whether we wanted to or not, the opportunity to create, the freedom to create. No matter how oppressive people above us on the ladder may have been, no matter how much anti-Semitism there may have been in the 1920s and 30s and 40s and 50s, it didn't stop any of us from being as creative as we could be. Our creativity, not just Jews, but everyone who came and joined that ladder, everyone who had the opportunity to be on that ladder of America could exercise that ability to invent, to create, to experience something new. And every time we had more people coming up on the ladder behind us, the new things we invented and the new things we created were more and more spectacular with each generation. Ford wanted to stop. He wanted to break the ladder, throw it into the pot, melt it down, and forget about it all, because he was terrified. He didn't understand that he was there inventing and experiencing the creativity of America and using it. He thought for himself and his family, but using it for all humanity. But he lost his way. The rest of us understood that we may walk around America dressed in our hot dog skin, making us all uniform, but on the inside we are unique, we are special, we bring to everything our spice and our flavor, and this is why we have to stand for immigration justice. We were on the bottom of the ladder 100 years ago. We have an obligation for those who find themselves on the bottom of the ladder today. As uncomfortable as it may make us feel, as strange as it may make us feel because we don't understand their religion or their culture or their language, that was us a generation ago, 2 generations ago. And we had the opportunity to exchange and share and experience the freedom of creativity that was and is and should be this country. So when you see the news and the media and everybody basically saying, woe is me, you kind of have 2 options. You can be Henry Ford trying to melt everything down and make it in his own image, or you can celebrate. You can say, wow, this is what makes us great. We have the opportunity to share the wisdom, the science, the laughter, the music, the culture, the books, the literature, all of that from so many cultures at the same time. Celebrate the ladder. Remember we were on it. And if you put ketchup on your hot dog, I will forgive you. Shabbat shalom to you all. Our service continues now on page 282, and we stand for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach le'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר וראשית, שלא עשנו כאויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Please be seated. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. V'nehemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Our meditation before Kaddish is found on page 289 at the bottom. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down in gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. On this Shabbat, we recall with love the names of those taken from us in recent days, and our hearts go out to their families in sympathy as we recall their names in love. Marcia Donovan Anthony, Sheldon Landau, Lisa Schwartz, Sid Wishning. And now we mention the names of those whose yahrzeits, the anniversary of whose passing, occur on this Shabbat, and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation and on the Wall of Honor for perpetual memorial. Hannah Tillis Apple, Leah Aaron, John H. Bamberger, Faye Beck, Max Andrew Bernstein, Sarah Bernstein, Jules E. Bindler, Harry E. Block, Louis Blumberg, Phyllis Custer, William B. Eisman Sr., John Feinstein, Theodore Finkelstein, Arthur Fishman, Burton D. Garland Sr., Lynn Garland, Rose Levenberg Geller, Alan Bud Goldberg, Leon Goldberg, J. Lewis Gordon, Suzanne Sobel Hoffman, Johanna Neustadt Horn, Maurice M. Königsberg, Morris Krause, Emil M. Lasker Sr., Thomas M. Lasker Sr., Hyman G. Levy, Louis Mack Levy, Claire Lossos, Susan Strom Mogerman, Shulamit Laska Offenbach, Fanny Szymanski Pruzan, Ann Satz, Francis Sheely, Lynn K. Shukar, Mitchell Schwartz, Eva Sarah Siegel, Sam Shakowitz, M. Randall Spitzer, Fanny L. Stern, Evelyn B. Troyman, Elsie Wheel, Suzanne Yawitz, Thelma Popper Ziskin, together with those whom we name in our hearts as we stand together for words of Kaddish, words that you will find on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Bialma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Bagala uvizman kari ve'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam elomei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha berichu. Le'elah min kol b'chata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alma ve'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and give comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say together, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. A note of thanks for Dan Vieser, who provided our musical accompaniment and didn't leave me hanging out there by myself. I appreciate it, Dan, very much. It's always good to have you back with us. Wishing you and all your loved ones a healthy, happy, and peaceful Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.